Good morning and welcome to the Core Connection. I'm Mira Rubin here with you on Enlightened World Network. And today's topic is making amends. We've all had things in our lives that we've regretted or that have felt incomplete, relationships, just ways that we might have been out of integrity, things that nag at us. And we're going to talk about the power of completion and making amends or just bringing closure to these things. So it should be a really interesting conversation. Welcome, Rosalind. So good to have you here with us this morning, and welcome to everybody else who's joining us. Before we get started, let's take a minute or two to get present. So let's take a deep breath in through your nose and hold it. And imagine clean, crisp oxygen flooding your lungs, flowing into your bloodstream, nourishing all your cells, all your organs, bringing vital life energy to your body and being. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's take another deep breath in through your nose and hold it. This time, imagine brilliant, bright light, lighting you up from the inside out, illuminating, electrifying, and energizing all your cells, your molecules, your electrons, creating a brilliant beam of light and energy from your heart out into the world. And as you exhale any remaining tension, stress, negativity, fatigue. And now let's press our palms together. Vigorously rub your hands together and feel the tickling, the tingling, the friction, the motion, the heat, the pressure, all those sensations. Allow them to bring you present right here, right now, into this remarkable physical form that enables you to experience life. Welcome, welcome, welcome. So we're talking today about the power of completion and making amends. And I know I'm not super familiar with the 12-step program, but I know that there's a part of it where people make amends. And as long as it's not going to create upheaval and pain and damage to the people that they're making amends to, that's something that they're meant to do. And there's superpower in being able to face the things that have kind of chewed at us over time and allow ourselves to be face to face with ownership for those things, taking responsibility, and then taking action to clean things up. If it's possible, it may or may not be possible to clean them up. So I've been in the process of developing this course on our relationship with money. I've been reading books and doing exercises that other people have developed. And in one of the books, they were talking about clearing up stuff with money, clearing up your credit card debt, clearing up money debt that you might owe other people, just coming into integrity, taking care of your bills, taking care of your taxes, just sort of bringing a completion to all these different things. And obviously, it's not something that necessarily happens overnight. Sometimes you have to make arrangements, things like getting a will, talking to an investment person if you're in a position to be investing, things like that. But essentially becoming responsible for your own welfare and your financial situation. It's not just financial, right? Because, well, I have a story to share. So years and years ago, I had a restaurant, and I was 23 years old, And my father very generously lent me a substantial sum of money. He lent me $30,000 to get this restaurant really rocking and rolling. And I ended up working as hard as I could and ended up going bankrupt, and I never got to pay my father back. And that, from the time I was 23, was a deep source of shame and disappointment in myself for letting my father down, just a whole huge complex of emotions. There was tremendous guilt around it, feelings of being a failure, feelings of being incompetent, a screw up. I mean, you name it, there was all this stuff that I thought I had processed over the years. And now my father has passed in 2017. And I was looking at, recently I've been able to say, wow, I'm in a place in my life where I'm doing well. I'm doing well. And I have had thoughts about, well, I wonder if my dad's proud of me. And then I thought about this debt that has sort of loomed over me for the better part, more than 2/3 of my life. And well, about 2/3 of my life. And so I thought, you know what? Oh, so Rosalind says, were the feelings internal, or did he verbalize those things? Some of those things he did, he verbalized, but not throughout my whole life. There were years where it was a source of, he was upset with me, and I understood that. And anyway, so thank you for asking that. And I internalized those feelings too. I felt deeply ashamed and all of the things that I just said. So then I remembered that he was a veterinarian and a surgeon, and very talented surgeon. And in his later years, he lived in the Florida Keys, and he volunteered for a bird sanctuary there in Tavernier, Florida. And apparently, I wasn't aware of it, but it was early in the history of this bird sanctuary. Anyway, it gave him such pleasure. It was very rewarding for him. He was very involved there, and he loved it. And it occurred to me, you know what? I can make a donation. I can make a donation, and I can pay my dad back by giving that money to this bird sanctuary. And over time, well, maybe that's not obvious, but over time, given that I don't have the means to be able to do that all at once at this point, and so I called them up, and they actually remembered him. And I was able to have a conversation where they agreed that they would put up a plaque to honor him. And we're in the process of deciding where that will be. And I made my first donation, and the first of many. And I can tell you that when I had that conversation, I just burst into tears. I mean, there was a well of emotion that emerged as there was such a release of all this pent up energy that I have carried for almost 2/3 of my life. That it was like redemption. that the opportunity to make good on this promise that had lorded over me in ways that I really hadn't even been aware of, that it sort of reaches down into the depths of my soul. And now there's a level of freedom. I just wept and wept. And it's still quite emotional. It's still processing for me too. It's just fascinating to me to see how compressed, how oppressed I felt by all those emotions, by that experience, by my disappointment in myself, by his disappointment in me, by the guilt and shame and sorrow that I felt, by the ineptitude, all of it, even after years of working with it, the power of making that commitment and stepping forward into that completion was and is so powerful. And so further along that line, this is like true confessions, but I'm sharing this because I don't think I'm the only person that has something like this in their past that has lorded over them, or that they have lorded over themselves, that has shaped their sense of self in negative ways. And I'm offering this as a personal example of the profound catharsis that's available to us in taking these steps toward completion. So along the same lines and from the same time frame, I had a very, very, very dear friend that I totally adored. And there was a circumstance where we had a falling out, and my well-intended actions were destructive, and it was the end of the friendship. And I have felt guilty about that since it happened, years and years and years. Again, the greater portion of my life. And felt the weight of having hurt this person that I so dearly loved. And without intending to hurt them, with intending to support them and help them, but it ended up being hurtful. And so a couple days ago, I hunted this person down online, and it wasn't easy actually, but I was able to find them. And I left a message for them, and saying I'm so sorry for the hurt that I caused. And I loved you then, I love you still. And it looks like you've done wonderful things in your life. And I don't know if you'd be open to having a conversation, but I just want you to know that you're in my heart. And they called me back, and it was the most joyous, delicious, freeing, delightful, playful reunion that I could ever have imagined. Their experience was they didn't even remember what it was that I have been torturing myself with for years. And they just were over the moon to hear from me, and I was over the moon to be in communication again. And it just has opened and lightened my heart in a way that I couldn't even begin to imagine. Like my head is still kind of spinning, like, wow, this is, and it was like no time passed. It was just so beautiful to connect with this person. And so again, I'm sharing these stories to hopefully inspire you to have these completions in your life. So without expectation, like I didn't have an expectation that this person would want to speak with me. I didn't know if they were angry and hurt. I didn't know how they might be feeling. And I feel very fortunate that they responded the way that they did. They said that they had been looking for me over the years as well, which was wild. And so I encourage you, when the time feels right, to be looking at these wounds that you may be carrying, that you may also be carrying the antidote for, that you may also be carrying the inspiration for their healing. All the work, all the personal work, development work, healing work, whatever that I did for myself with the story of the restaurant and the money that I was unable to, that I had never paid back. Just really, that Rosalind says, thank you for sharing both of these stories. You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I hope that they make a difference. I hope that they inspire you to be able to gain closure for some of the things, for the big things in your life that that weigh on you, to provide yourself the freedom and the healing available by having the courage to face it, first of all, to recognize the well, for me it was guilt and shame and a lot of self-judgment. And the story with my dad, it felt like such perfection. It felt like such a perfect way to complete that commitment, because this is a way for him to live on with something that was really important to him, and for the people there to be able to honor and appreciate him for the contribution that he made and is continuing to make through me. But it's his contribution. And it felt so right. And you'll know when it feels right. Like it was just this emergence of so much pent up energy that I've been holding in my body and soul for so long. And my guess is that there are things like that in your life as well. And I can tell you that it's profound and remarkably powerful and healing to first face it and then find a resolution that feels whole. You'll know it when it's right. You'll know it when it's right. And there's I believe, it feels to me like it's blown open the barn doors like just maybe blown open the whole barn so that now there's a world of new potential and possibility, a new level of freedom, a new level of integrity and self-trust that emerges from that kind of action. So the things that are nagging at you, if you really look, sometimes we put them so far behind us that we don't even hear whispers of those things anymore. Sometimes it takes digging. Rosalind says it's an opening for being able to do something compared to not. Enough time elapses, perhaps, and the whispers turn into guidance. They can. And sometimes, we're so close to something that, and it's so painful that we defend against it. For years with the restaurant, my father was talking about what a failure it was, and consequently what I was, is the way that I interpreted it. And I insisted that I learned all kinds of lessons from it, and I did. And there was a massive incompletion, and I didn't have the resources and the wherewithal to complete it previously. And now I do. Going forward, now I can accomplish that over time. And yeah, so super, super powerful and transformational. And it gives us an opportunity to know ourselves from a different place. We all have stories about ourselves that perhaps we function in spite of or beyond, like whatever those voices are that are trying to undermine us, we manage to drown that out oftentimes and move forward, or maybe even because of those voices, we move forward and push past that to prove ourselves, to prove that we're not that person that we believe ourselves to be. And when we find a way to reconcile, to make amends, to complete, then all that energy is freed up. It takes so much energy to suppress. It takes so much energy to deny what's there. When we can actually deeply, truly heal it, there's endless power available within that power and energy, to be able to move more fully into expression of our fuller potential. And yeah, there's a disruption around that. It's been most of my life that I held those things, and I remember saying right after the situation with after the conversation with the bird sanctuary, I remember speaking to a friend and telling them and saying, I don't know who I am without the burden of that. So I get to discover who I am now, unburdened by that. And to be having the privilege to make good on that. And it really does feel like a blessing to be able to make good on that commitment. to find a way that seems appropriate. That's not, it doesn't feel like it's a compromise. It feels like it's a perfect way to honor that commitment. So look without judgment, look at yourself, look in your life, look at those places. Rosalind says tithing. Yeah, I had been reading about tithing, and I do give contributions to causes that I deeply value. And the thing is that this is something different from tithing. And it may be part of it. It's really honoring my commitment, because my dad has the bond with this place. It's in honoring him. So it's something different from tithing. I looked up the definition of tithing, and it talked about supporting your spiritual sources, places that are, particularly religious institutions, right? But if we're not particularly religious, there are organizations that are serving our spiritual missions too, right? So I donate to an organization called Our Children's Trust. And what it is a group of folks that are suing local and federal governments on behalf of children, in the name of our right to to clean air, clean water, and a healthful environment, and other environmental causes. There's an organization that plants trees that has been validated. If you're going to support an organization that's planting trees, make sure that they're a bona fide organization. But there are all kinds of wonderful, wonderful causes that align with our heart and soul that we can support. And I think that there's some superpower to that, in using your money to support your values. So rather than getting caught up in money, and in the more of money, rather than getting caught up in what we might call the dark side of how people interact with money, to be putting money in places that are in alignment with your values. That's super powerful. And anyway, so I think that's it for today. Thank you so much for being here, for providing a space that that I feel inspired to share this kind of stuff. So Rosalind says, thank you for sharing and your ability to support today's topic. Thank you so much, Rosalind. Yeah, I think that this is important, and it's that level of transformation that I'm intending to provide people a space for in the money course that I'm creating, because in my path along, the development of this thing, it's been so profound for me. And I know that that's available to the people that are going to take this course. I know what level of transformation is possible because I'm undergoing it myself. So I'm very excited to share that. And we get to be accountable in our lives in a way that is life affirming and uplifting and rewarding. And anyway, I'm so grateful to you all for the opportunity to share this, and hopefully you too will be inspired to take some steps in your life that grant you closure, and you can be creative about it. So with that, I'm Mira Rubin. This is the Core Connection, and I go live here each weekday morning at 9 a.m. Eastern on the Enlightened World Network Facebook page and YouTube channel. And I invite you to check out the other awesome programming. I show up here at 9 a.m. each weekday morning. And until next time, so much love.